Centuries before John wrote Revelation, before the 7 trumpets, the seals, the beast that emerges from the sea, a man had already seen all of this. He saw the sky tearing open. He saw the Son of Man descending on the clouds. He saw the earth burning and heard the screams of those who were left behind. His name was Ezra, and what he saw was so disturbing, so impossible to accept, that the church itself decided to hide it. This book existed. It was read. It was copied. And then it was erased. But the question no one wants to answer is, why? What did Ezra see that could not be revealed? Jerusalem had fallen. The temple, that place where God dwelt among men, was in ruins. Families were separated. Bodies were scattered through the streets like dead leaves. And in the midst of that deafening silence of death and ashes, a man named Ezra walked alone. He was not a warrior. He was not a king. He was just a scribe, someone who spent his days copying the scriptures, keeping the memory of a people who now had no country. But Ezra carried a pain greater than the destruction around him. He carried a question that burned in his chest like a living ember. Where was God when his people needed him most? Ezra fasted, he wept, he cried out to heaven. And one night, while he was alone in the desert, something happened. Something he never imagined possible. The sky opened, and a voice said, "Ezra, rise up, for I will show you what is to come." In the first vision, Ezra saw a woman. She was in mourning, dressed in black, her face marked by tears. She cried without stopping, and her weeping was so deep it seemed the entire earth groaned with her. Ezra approached and asked, "Why do you weep like this, woman?" And she answered, "Because my son died. I waited 30 years for him, 30 years of prayer, of hope, of promises. And on his wedding day, he fell dead before me. And now, I have nothing left." Ezra tried to console her. He said that her pain, as great as it was nothing compared to the pain of Zion, the destroyed city, the dead people, the temple in flames. He said, "Your suffering is small compared to the suffering of an entire nation." But then, something terrifying happened. The woman stopped crying. She looked at Ezra, and she began to shine. Her entire body began to transform, to expand, until she was no longer a woman. She was a city, a radiant city, made of pure light, with walls of gold and foundations that seemed to touch the sky. And the voice spoke again, "Ezra, this woman is Jerusalem. She weeps for the children she lost. But at the end of times, she will be restored, and she will be more glorious than she ever was." Ezra fell to his knees, because for the first time, he understood suffering was not the end. It was the beginning of something impossible to imagine. In the second vision, Ezra saw something that made him tremble. He saw a giant eagle rising from the sea. It was not an ordinary eagle. It had 12 wings and 3 heads, and when it spread its wings, the entire world was in shadow. The eagle ruled over all peoples. It trampled the earth, devoured the nations, and no one could resist it. Kings bowed, soldiers fled, and the eagle laughed because it knew no one was strong enough to face it. But then a lion appeared, a lion emerging from the forest, roaring with a voice that made the earth shake. And the lion looked at the eagle and said, "You were sent to rule for a time, but your time is over. You oppressed the weak. You exalted yourself above the Creator, and now your judgment has come." And the lion roared, and the roar was so powerful that the eagle's wings began to fall one by one. The 3 heads were torn off, and the eagle disappeared like smoke in the wind. Ezra asked the angel who was with him, "What does this mean?" And the angel answered, "The eagle is the last empire that will dominate the earth before the end. And the lion is the Messiah, the one who will come to judge the living and the dead." Ezra wrote every word, because he knew that what he was seeing was not just for him. It was a warning, a map, a prophecy about the final destiny of all the kingdoms of the earth. In the third vision, Ezra saw something that left him speechless. He saw a man rising from the sea, not an ordinary man. This man was flying. He came upon the clouds of heaven, and his face shone like the sun. And before him, an uncountable multitude of people, millions, perhaps billions. all running toward him, some with weapons, others with cries of hatred, and all trying to destroy him. But the man did not take a sword. He did not raise an army. He simply opened his mouth, and from his mouth came fire, not ordinary fire. It was as if every word he spoke was a living flame, and this flame consumed everything. The armies melted, the weapons turned to ashes, and in seconds, no one remained, except for a small group, a group that had not come to fight. They came on their knees, they came in peace, and the man from the clouds embraced them, and they were taken to a place that Ezra described as a land that no one knew, but that had always existed. Ezra asked, "Who is this man?" And the angel said, "This is the Son of the Most High, the one who has guarded the world since the beginning. And on the last day he will reveal himself, and he will separate those who sought him from those who rejected him." Ezra trembled, because he realized he was seeing the same event that John would see centuries later. The same battle, the same judgment, the same king returning on the clouds. But Ezra saw it first. Then Ezra asked the question we would all ask: when will this happen? What will be the signs? And the voice answered, and what it said was so specific, so detailed, that even today scholars get chills reading it. The voice said, "There will be famine like never before. The harvests will fail. The rivers will dry up, and people will eat the flesh of their own children to survive. The sun will rise at night. The moon will appear during the day. Blood will flow from wood, and the stones will cry out. Women will give birth to monsters. Salt water will be found in fresh rivers. Friends will kill each other without reason, and wisdom will hide. Governments will fall in a day. Entire kingdoms will disappear overnight. And there will be earthquakes in places where there never were any. And when you see these things happening, know this: the door has already been opened, and there is no way to close it anymore." Ezra wrote everything, every sign, every detail, because he knew that someone, at some point in history, would read this and recognize the times they were living in. And perhaps that someone is you. But Ezra still had a question, the most difficult of all. He looked at the angel Uriel, who had been by his side from the beginning, and asked, why did God allow Jerusalem to be destroyed? Why did he let his people die? If he is just, how could he have allowed so much injustice? And Uriel answered in a way no one expected. He said, "Ezra, do you weigh fire? Do you measure the wind? Can you bring back yesterday?" Ezra shook his head. "No, that is impossible." And Uriel said, "Then how do you expect to understand the ways of God? He created time. He created the world. He sees the beginning and the end at the same time. And what to you is injustice, to him is redemption." Uriel continued, "The world was created for the righteous, but the wicked corrupted it. And now the world must pass through fire to be purified. And yes, the righteous will suffer too, but their suffering will not be in vain, because in the end they will inherit everything." Ezra wept, because he understood that suffering was not punishment. It was preparation. It was the price of transformation. Then Ezra asked the most terrible question of all: how many will be saved? And Uriel answered, "Few." Ezra felt his heart sink. "What do you mean, few?" And Uriel said, "Ezra, what is more abundant, gold or sand? Precious stones or earth? What do you think is worth more?" Ezra answered, "Gold, precious stones, because they are rare." And Uriel said, "Exactly. What is rare is precious, and the saved are rare. Not because God doesn't want to save more, but because few choose the narrow path. Few resist, few persevere, and in the end, few enter." Ezra fell silent, because he realized that judgment was not about deserving, it was about choosing. And most simply did not choose. In the last vision, Ezra saw the end of everything. He saw the sky opening like a scroll being rolled up. He saw the throne of God, and around it millions of angels. He saw the dead being resurrected, everyone who had ever lived, standing before the throne. And then the books were opened. Ezra saw something that made him tremble. Every life was recorded. Every word, every thought, every secret action, everything was there, and nothing, absolutely nothing, was forgotten, the righteous were called. And they entered a place of eternal light, where there was no more pain, no fear, no tears. But the others, those who rejected the truth, who preferred darkness, who chose to live without God, were taken to a place that Ezra described as the furnace of torment. And Ezra heard the final voice, "Ezra, you have seen what is to come. You have seen the end. Now return and tell the people, so that they may choose." Ezra wrote everything, every vision, every prophecy, every warning. And for centuries, the book of Second Ezra was read, copied, studied. It was in the first Christian Bibles. It was in the manuscripts of the early church fathers. But in 1546, at the Council of Trent, something changed. The Catholic Church decided that Second Ezra was not canonical, and the Protestants followed suit, and gradually the book disappeared. Why? Some say it was because Second Ezra was too late, written after the closing of the Jewish canon. Others say it was because the book was too pessimistic. It spoke of few being saved, of severe judgment, of a God who does not forgive lightly. But the truth is that Second Ezra is uncomfortable, because it does not offer false hope. It does not promise that everything is okay. It says the end is coming. Are you ready? And perhaps that is the question no one wants to answer. You have just heard a prophecy that was written almost 2,000 years ago, and you need to decide, is it just an old story, or is it a warning? If you believe that something greater is happening in the world now, if you feel that we are approaching something inevitable, leave your comment below. Say what you felt. Say if you are ready, and if you want to continue exploring these mysteries that history tried to erase. Subscribe to the channel, but only if you have the courage to face the truth, because not everyone can.